The stem of the wine glass trembled against my fingers, the dark red liquid shimmering beneath the chandelier, as if warning me of what was about to come. You invited him? Sarah's voice sliced the air, sharp and sudden, turning our quiet dining room into a battlefield. Her eyes, once soft and gentle, now burned with something unfamiliar. Anger, fear, or maybe something worse, something I didn't yet have the courage to name. I carefully set the glass down, my heartbeat thundering in my ears, and forced a thin smile across my lips. I thought it would be nice, I said, voice deliberately calm, to finally meet your boss. Her lips parted, but no words came out. The silence stretched between us like a taut wire, threatening to snap. The idea had seemed harmless this morning. For weeks, Sarah had been drifting, her laughter fading, her eyes always searching for something beyond me. I had told myself it was stress, the demands of her new position. Long nights, endless pressure. But then there were the other things. The phone buzzing at odd hours. The way she would turn the screen away, locking it with a speed that seemed almost defensive. Her tone whenever she spoke of Daniel, her boss. He's intense, she had once said, her voice strangely tight. At the time I dismissed it. But his name had stayed with me, haunting my thoughts like a half-remembered dream. So tonight, I'd decided to bridge the distance. I cooked lamb with rosemary, set the good plates on the table, the ones reserved for anniversaries. The house smelled of effort, of hope. I wanted her to see me trying. But the moment the words left her mouth, "You shouldn't have done that, Mark," something inside me shifted. Her hands clutched the chair back, so tightly her knuckles turned white. "Why not?" I asked lightly, though my stomach was knotted. "He's your boss. I thought it might be good for you networking and all." She didn't answer. She just stared at the table, jaw clenched, silence heavy like the sky before a storm. And then the doorbell rang. Sarah flinched. "I'll get it," I said, forcing steadiness into my voice though my chest ached. Daniel stood on the porch, perfectly polished, suit sharp, smile practiced. He shook my hand firmly, eyes scanning me as though he already knew every line written on me. "Mark, right? Thanks for inviting me." Something in his composure unsettled me, as if he had stepped into this house before. Dinner began with hollow pleasantries. Forks clinked, the scrape of cutlery louder than conversation. Sarah barely touched her food, her gaze flicking between him and me like a trapped animal searching for escape. Daniel, on the other hand, was relaxed. He swirled his wine, leaned back and smiled. "Sarah's been exceptional at work," he said, his tone smooth, velvet laced with something I couldn't place. "Truly indispensable." His eyes lingered on her, and she flushed, looking down quickly. A cold pang pierced through me, but I buried it beneath a thin smile. Pride, I told myself. She's just proud of his praise. But as the night stretched, the mask began to slip. He casually mentioned a meeting last week, one Sarah hadn't told me about. "You were brilliant," Daniel said warmly, too warmly. Her fork froze midair. Her eyes widened for only a heartbeat before she forced a smile. "Just doing my job." My stomach twisted. Last week she'd told me she had a client dinner. I took a sip of wine, the bitterness biting my tongue. Daniel spoke with familiarity that ran too deep. He knew her coffee preference, how she hummed softly when nervous. Things only someone close, too close, would know. I watched her across the table, searching for traces of the woman I'd married. The one who used to laugh at my terrible jokes. The one who squeezed my hand in the dark when I couldn't sleep. She was there, but distant, like a blurred figure behind fogged glass. Excusing myself, I carried plates into the kitchen. My grip on the counter tightened until my knuckles hurt. My heart slammed against my ribs. The puzzle pieces were falling into place. The late nights. The guarded phone. Her fading affection. Every shard cut deeper into my chest. I wanted to be wrong. Desperately. When I returned, I saw it. Daniel leaning in close, his hand brushing hers as he reached for the wine. And she didn't pull away. The room tilted. Air caught in my throat. "Sarah." My voice was sharper than I intended. She jolted, pulling her hand back. Daniel didn't flinch. His smile stayed fixed, but his eyes glittered with calculation, watching me. The rest of dinner blurred into a nightmare performance. I laughed. I poured wine. I played the good host while every word tasted like ash. When Daniel finally left, the silence was suffocating. Sarah busied herself at the sink, sleeves rolled up, hands submerged in suds. Avoiding me. What's going on, Sarah? My voice was low, trembling with restrained fury. She froze. Nothing, she said quickly, too quickly. It was just a weird night. But her voice cracked, her shoulders stiff. And then I saw it, the flicker of guilt in her eyes, faint but undeniable. Tell me the truth, I demanded, stepping closer, my heartbeat roaring in my ears. Her face paled, lips parted as though to confess, but then closed again. The silence between us stretched wide, and in that space I understood. The late nights weren't about work. The messages weren't professional. The man I had welcomed into my home wasn't just her boss. Tears welled in her eyes. Her voice broke to a whisper. Mark, I didn't mean for it to happen. The word shattered me. My lungs emptied. My vision blurred. I wanted to scream, to rage, to demand how long. But no words came. Only silence. I looked at her then, not as my wife, not as the woman I'd built a life with, but as a stranger. And yet her sorrow was real. Her regret etched in her trembling hands. Still, it didn't change the truth. The dining room, its flickering candles, the table I had so carefully set, was no longer ours. It was a stage where everything had collapsed. I didn't know what would come next, anger, forgiveness, or something beyond both. But one thing I knew with certainty. The life we had shared was gone. And whatever remained would never be the same.